Hi, everyone. My name is Krishna. Thanks for joining me on part of my final assignment for understanding the course. We're going to be looking through a bunch of cocktail recipes, just seeing if there's anything that jumps out at us when we do this. Just first talking about where it came from. It's I got it from Kaggle. It's 425 recipes of various drinks. As you can see below from the screenshot of the data set, each recipe came with an ID number. It has a name. It has other categories to include how you make it, what goes in it. But they also have images attached to it and a web link and the category. They include them in a bunch of different categories between whether they're alcohol or not. Majority of the data set is alcohol, even though there was some not non-alcoholic beverages, and then separating them out between different types of categories of drinks. What did I choose to focus on? The first thing I looked at was what I deemed the vessels. It came from the glass type column. There were 31 different types of vessels that they used, and I was just looking to see how they were used throughout the data set, throughout the recipes, and compared to other variables. The second main variable I looked at was what I then called spirits, which came from the ingredients column, which is the spirits is a subgroup of 6 categories. There are 5 liquors, and then one would be the non-alcoholic group. Other things I looked at, because I already pulled out the spirits, was which ones were used most commonly, and then tried to look into which mixers were in the spirits, and then just briefly dipping into the shaken versus the stir, just because I wanted to see if one was more important. I started in Excel, of course, and I moved to R to try it out and see what's going on. Mainly, I just use it to summarize stuff and see what things were grouped. I mean, how things are grouped. Some errors to point out that I need to fix. As you see, something is actually kind of minor, but just a change in the name because that some of the letters were capitalized and some weren't. So I had to go through and change those so that it went in place in my Excel spreadsheets to confuse myself. And then once we see only a quarter of the vessels are actually in the high count, majority of them are falling under the 8 mark. Only six of the 31 wind up being above 10, while only 4 of them are above 25. And those are the ones that I chose to look at and see what was happening. As we said, our top 4. So cocktail, our front runner with 100, taking up 24% of the entire data set. Cocktail, though, can be a little tricky area because cocktail sometimes covers various other classes. But I'm not sure how they decided to do what was cocktail and what wasn't. For our highball, it was close second, just 2 behind. Our cocktail glasses with 98 and 23%. Collins is the third, very similar to a highball, just a little skinnier, with 58 and 14%. Rounding us out in the top 4 is our old fashioned, only at 9%, but still 39, which is a large number compared to all of the other glasses in our category, because as we just saw, the majority of them are under a count of 8. So our top 4 vessels. And while I was still looking at vessels, I wanted to see if what their relation was to the top spirits in the categories. And we see here that gin, rum, vodka, tequila, and whiskey wound up being our top 5 most used spirits in the recipes. And I just kind of organized them by their vessel counts. So for gin, with 102 recipes, no surprise that it would be cocktail and highball, being that gin takes up such a large portion of our total recipe count. We're assuming that cocktail and highball would be in high numbers as well. So they're almost 38 and 27% of all of the gin-based drinks. Also included in our high counts would be old fashioned and Collins. If we move to our rum category, rum, just like gin, their top 3 are cocktail, highball, and Collins. If we move to vodka, vodka would be where we see our first change from the top 3 count. So cocktail glass is now second compared to highball that has slid into our first place spot. When we slide over to tequila, cocktail is now towards the bottom. It is no longer in our front-running group of top three. Tequila for their vessels then use highball and Collins. And lastly, in our top five, whiskey. No surprise there, the whiskey sour glass is our top used vessel for the whiskey category. Cocktail has slid further down in the ranking, but highball is still hanging in there strong in second place. Then I just wanted to take a peek and see if we look at vessels and their non-alcoholic group, would they be similar to the alcoholic group? And it was, so sort of. The highball is still top used in our non-alcoholic category. But a cocktail, nowhere to be seen, along with our Collins that was floating as our number three spot. What we now have is the coffee mug that was not a contender in our alcoholic category for most used vessels, but has now taken second place for our non-alcoholic category. Small, but mighty. Then, like I said earlier, I just wanted to peek into the shaken versus stirred. And we looked at gin for time-wise, and pulled out separated their categories of the instructions of how to make it. This does relate to a lot of the data set as I was browsing through, that they are very similar. And gin has 100 of the 420 speaking days of it used. So we see that they are 38 and 36 and 38% of it, or they're almost equal for shaken versus stirred. Or, I thought they should pour more, a lot quicker. So then I went to round it out and to end it out, I went back to our top spirits, our top five spirits, to see just what else was in there. Let's see if there's anything that jumps out at me that I want to point out about our top used spirits of gin, rum, vodka, tequila, and whiskey. But because most people it's common that people look at our top categories. I want to look at the bottom for a peek to see what ingredients are being, what mixtures are going into our bottom, but it won't help me to look at the very bottom because there's only one. So they're going to tell us anything. So I looked at the bottom two of the top five, which is tied into tequila and whiskey. So our whiskey-based beverages, whiskey drinkers go hard. They mix their drinks with just another liquor. So that was very common in our data in this data set. Even the whiskey and fruit that has 9, a lot of these are whiskey, fruit, and another liquor involved. We slide over to tequila based, and it's more spread out, more even. They have a lot more variety and diversity in their mixers. For something I noticed for the fruit, a lot of it is lemon, whether it be a slice of lemon or a squeeze of lemon. The juice and fruit are separated because the juice is mainly like pineapple, cranberry, stuff like that, and orange juice, of course. Tequila sunrise, whereas the fruit is the actual fruit that's going in there. So what did I get from this? Shaken versus stirred, they were equal. I was hoping it wouldn't be one would be more than the other. But to me, it's like if you use this in business, one thing that you point out is like if you have a lot of drinks on your menu that are shaken, you could potentially have a poor customer service rating. We won't know until we look into it, of course, but that's something that could be done in the future. Combine them and see if there's a relation between recipes and the customer service rating. And if drinks, a lot of drinks are being put in shakers because it slows you down. Customers don't want to wait. Increase your profits because we're not selling as much as quickly. For our vessels, as we stated throughout, cocktail and highball are most used vessels. This is important for sales and purchasing because you need to know what you need to have on hand, what types of drinks go, what type of vessels. You need to know how to order, even for having a nice little gal party at your house. If you want to make it right, you need to know which type of glass to put things in and make sure you have the amount that you need. So that is important. For gin, which I thought something to point out as I was browsing through other data sets and reading through articles and things. Vodka is usually listed as the most commonly requested or commonly used liquor. So for it to be third behind gin and rum in this data set was a little odd, which then I noticed later a limitation of my own error to some people that I made was that I didn't account for brand names in our ingredients list. So that could play a part, but it didn't seem like it had that much effect on the total overall number. But that's just something to point out because something may have been listed as Jack Daniels, Absolute, Belvedere instead of saying vodka or brandy. So that wasn't accounted for in the total count. So that should be that's just something important to point out. Another article I read about cruise reports, I wanted to merge this with a cruise data set under requested drinks, but you had to pay for that. I wasn't buying it. So I did not do that. But they were talking about how in 2024, a lot of their cruise goers were switching and ordering more non-alcoholic beverages. So if we would have merged these together, maybe we could have seen that there was something going on between the different types of ingredients. Now that we need more of a different type of liquor, or not even liquor, now we would need more carbonated soda. And vessels could have changed because cocktails isn't a high glass in our non-alcoholic group, a high use vessel. So that's just something that I wanted to look into, but like I said, I didn't get to. If we wrap it all together, pull it together, closing statement would be that if you consider all of the variables, it is now the best way for you to determine what items you need to purchase to have on hand and what drinks should go on the menu to benefit your profits and to best serve your customers. Thank you for joining my cocktails video. It's been great. It was rough when we made it. Feel free to visit my Tableau dashboard. Find the link hopefully in the description. Cheers, mate. Bye.